So you see one of the major conversations that have come out of
pre-election
election conversations, which has
yeah.
been, and not just pre-election conversations, but also pre-election flashpoints
Yes.
also. So if you look at it critically, you see that the PDP has complained a lot about arrest of their strong members.
Yes.
And, said they've been arrested and some of them reached to Abuja.
Yes.
They've been here without trial or anything and all that. And so you will already see and tell that there's going to be problem on the day of elections.
Yes.
And this is an election that is highly contested because you've got a PDP sitting governor who has a candidate in the elections.
Yes.
And that candidate is supposed to be strong because PDP is a ruling party.
Yes.
And then you've also got the APC,
Yes.
which has federal might. And they also have one of the strongest labor union leaders in Nigeria, who is Adam Soshomole.
Yes.
And then you now have Olumide Akpata, who
Yes.
is also a newbie in politics.
Yes.
However, he's coming with huge support from Peter Obi, who
yes.
is
The-
the new wave in town
Yes.
politically. And so you see that the election is definitely going to be highly contested because of these various interests that are at play.
Yeah.
So in Edo State, you would expect that the governor would use his state resources to make sure his candidate wins.
And the power of incumbency.
Exactly. And then at the federal level, you also see the APC trying to use federal might, which is in control of the state security forces and everything, both the army, the SSS, and the police, to ensure that they get things done in Edo State. And then the Labour Party, which is then supposed to be, the newbie party, basically.
Yes.
But what we've seen is that of everybody complaining, it's only PDP that is actually complaining.
Yes. Funny enough, yes.
Yes. So, for example, today's elections, you see Olumide Akpata is saying, oh, voting was so seamless in my place and it was sweet, it was easy.
Yes.
Aswe is saying that, man, my people are not voting, my strongholds, INEC arrived late, INEC is doing this, INEC is doing that in my stronghold, so they're trying to decapitate me and make sure that my people don't come out and vote, which means I might lose these elections if my strong people can't vote. And APC is not saying anything, essentially.
It seems to be a bit quiet.
There are no complaints. So you can see these various playbooks, and there's been too many insinuations here and there that these people have done this or that, written results in allegations of written results and vote buying. Not just allegations of votes buying, there have been cases of blatant votes buying on social media where people have been recorded buying votes and selling votes. So it's an interesting elections in total, and I can't wait to see the outcome.
Exactly. I can't agree with you any less. I think it's going to be a very interesting one, and we have our eyes on our screens. We are watching everything that is going on. But I'd like to draw your attention to something you had very subtly talked about, which is INEC. I want us to talk about the role of INEC in this election. This is a statewide election, and the previous one we had where they said their preparedness or level of preparedness was a bit low. But here we see that it's a statewide election, and would expect that they are a little more prepared because they are dealing with a lesser population. So what would you say about INEC's preparedness for this? Because they had mentioned that there are flashpoints that they've been able to put in place to avoid any kind of election or electoral malpractices. Do you think INEC is properly prepared to handle this election in the proper manner?
Should I ask you that question?
You seem to be laughing in a way that scares me, but I want to hear your response.
So let's take what the state rec said, yesterday about the level of preparedness of transmission of results on IREV.
Okay.
Let's just take that.
Each time I hear IREV, it sounds traumatic.
Exactly. So it is traumatizing because people actually believe the 2023 elections were going to be really, really transparent and through IREV because of the introduction of IREV.
Yes.
But so it's supposed to traumatize you as a Nigerian citizen who is concerned about the country's development and electoral development. So I think that it's your answer to that question is just straight into the you have the answer through
Yes.
the
Okay.
Rex interview yesterday when he said that. So it's a critical thing. He said they are ready. IRF is ready.
Yes.
However, if there is no network, they cannot kill themselves. Now, network is not force majeure, right?
Yes.
You're not going to say that thunder struck
Yes,
and then there's no
it's
network, rain fell or sun,
destroyed the network.
there was too much sun and something.
Yes.
There are network service providers. I can't come here and start advertising them because they did not pay you and pay us to do advert for them.
Exactly.
Thank you. So, but there are service providers who automatically can withstand some of this, whether rain, sun, or wind.
Yes.
And you should have tested these people. You have, come on, for heaven's sake. You
Yeah.
had a whole year and a half
Yes, to prepare
to
for this.
prepare for Edo elections.
Yes.
So if you're really interested in conducting a free and fair elections, you should make IREV work in any way, shape, or form that you think you deem necessary to make that happen. You have a state. That's not Nigeria now. We're not talking about 36 states.
Just
you
the
just have,
fraction.
and it's 18 local governments
Yes,
in Edo.
Edo State, yes.
18 local governments in Edo State, and you cannot provide internet in these polling
That
units
is really appalling.
or local governments where results will be collated and sent. And I'm very sure that Edo people are very passionate people.
Yeah.
Edo
They are.
people are very passionate people. And I'm sure that they are the volunteerism in Edo State is different from any other place. If you look political volunteerism,
Okay.
it is usually different. I have followed elections since 2011, and I can tell you that Edo people's passion is totally different.
Yes, they go
So-
all out.
So if they say the IREV will work, Edo people will volunteer to use their phones or whatever to upload those the
Yes.
results on IREV. I can tell you that for free.
Yeah.
They are that passionate about governance and what concerns them. I tell you that I don't believe that INEC has any form of level of preparedness to conduct a free and fair elections in Nigeria, not under this leadership of the of Yakubu. So I don't see them conducting a free and fair elections. Whoever decides to muzzle their way through the process, anyhow, Jaga Jaga
Might just
can
have-
still do it.
Yes.
Can do that and get the results out. But I don't think that it's INEC is going to be incumbent on INEC on its own to voluntarily say we want to conduct a free and fair elections and we have given you free and fair elections. INEC does not have the capacity
Exactly.
to do
But I
that.
find that really appalling.
And the sincerity of purpose.
Exactly. But I find that really tiring at this point because we've grown a lot in our political life. And I think that at this point, we should have been able to pass through these particular problems. I mean, this is a nation. We've been in democracy for over, 25 years now. We should be able to make our way through this. But anyways, we continue to hope that INEC continues to improve and we get better results in the future. So let's come back to the three-horse party thing now in the States because it's more like a microcosm of what happened in the presidential election because we had the APC, the PDP, and the Labour Party. So now we have Mr. Olumide Akpata, and he's from a legal background. Then we see another person too from the legal background, and I see that there's a lot happening in the space. These people are quite knowledgeable, and they seem to have a level of following. So how do you think that is going to translate at the polls today?
So one very important thing is to really appreciate the quality of people the Nigerian
Exactly.
legal system has thrown out, especially within
Yes.
the race in Edo State.
Yes,
That's quality leadership being
Yes.
presented to Nigerians.
that's true.
Olumide is stellar. Asue
Absolutely.
is on fire.
Exactly.
His CV is on fire.
Yeah.
Particularly on fire.
Yes.
I mean, let's just leave the APC candidates in one corner. So they are, within this, they have these choices to make basically when it comes to quality and quality leadership.
Yes.
This
Yeah, they
is
have the
quality.
capacity,
They have the
yes.
capacity to provide quality leadership. The question is that if they win, will they
Yes,
want to
continuing
provide that, continue in that
Exactly.
say. But it's if you've seen someone's antecedents, you should be able to tell or forecast and say these people are good.
Yeah.
Asue has done extremely well for himself in terms of within the private sector. His resume is, I think, to some extent, I look at his resume, I'm like, this guy, you sure you're not bigger than Edo to bring
Yes.
this thing to, so. Anyway, but he wants to govern Edo. Maybe he likes his people
Yes.
or that. I think that he has he's got. If you look at where he stands currently, the only baggage he has is the governor's baggage.
Yes.
And the governor's baggage is made pronounced by the idea of whether or not he has done well in past, performed well
Yes.
or not. That's the biggest baggage he has. But when it comes to himself as a person and
Yes.
a candidate,
Human capital,
the zoning formula in Edo State favors him.
Okay.
Yes. The zoning formula favors him.
Yeah.
He is favored by most traditional rulers, and the traditional influence
Yes.
in Edo State,
Yeah.
it favors
It's
him
massive,
100%. He has a massive support.
Yes.
I mean, he has the support. The thing, another thing he has going for him is the opposition. Being an opposition at the federal level,
Yes.
and the alternative opposition, so to speak. Not
Yes.
just the fact that we are looking at the regular. The general opposition, but like
yes.
number one opposition party in Nigeria today is PDP, whether you like it or not,
Yes.
because they have governors, they have the Senate, they have House of Reps, they
Yes,
have
they do.
population, they have everything, they've got structure.
Yes.
Now, if you look at Olumide doesn't have, zoning doesn't favor him at all. Exactly. He's
Sadly.
cousins with the current governor, they have, all that
Yes.
stuff going for him.
Yeah.
The structure of Labour Party, again, people talk about structures. Structure of Labour Party is seemingly stronger than it was at the federal level. I mean, when I say seemingly, so what the Labour Party has strong, like I said before, have strong and solid volunteerism or volunteer movements in
Yes.
Edo State.
Yeah.
However, that has been depleted severely by Aswe
Okay.
entrance. So, and I'll say this, this is largely because when Obaseki wanted to become governor the second time, when he fell out with Oshomole and APC and the rest of them, Obaseki actually created Labour Party, or rather established in, what's that thing called? Built Labour Party in Edo State.
Okay.
So he used states and he was holding on to Labour Party as before Obi became a phenomenon.
Oh, really?
Yes, obviously, because their elections were, so
yeah,
he was
after that.
building, he was off circle. He was building Labour Party as an alternative if PDP does not take him.
So he had his hands in two places.
So he had his hands in two places. So he literally influences most of the. That's why people tell you
Decisions,
that
yes.
he brought his cousin as well. That he's just trying
Yes,
to make sure
hit
that
and miss. If this doesn't work, that should work.
So because he owns the Labour Party, he owned the Labour Party. I don't know about now. He owned the Labour Party structure at that time in Edo State until the emergence of Peter Obi. So people from PDP. In fact, there were some PDP members who left PDP to go and support Obi
Yes.
and during the presidential elections.
Yes.
Now, all those obedience have pulled away again and gone to PDP. So this then exposes the Labour Party structure somewhat
Yes.
in the Labour Party against Akpata.
Yes.
So these are the challenges as Akpata is facing in the race, to the best of my knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
And it's quite interesting, but let's see.
Yes, we'll just watch and see how all of these permutations turn out. But very closely to what you had said earlier. So what are you saying? If I'm to allow you give like a projection as to what it's going to be like, who do you think is going to have the largest amount of votes? And I know this is a direct question, but talking about all of what we had just talked about now, knowing that Labour Party has quite a number of following, you said we should leave APC guy aside, and then we have the PDP person. What do you think is going to look like in terms of voting distribution across these three people?
I think that zoning is, regionalism plays a big role in Nigeria's politics, whether you like it or not. And that's why Atiku did not get 100% of the support in the elections, because people, especially from the South, because it was believed that it was the turn of the South.
Yes.
So I want to believe that Akpata would not go far in these elections.
Okay.
I think he will go a distant third.
Okay.
I want to believe that APC would use serious rigging mechanism to try to rig and suppress PDP's votes and then come second. I believe that, my projections, I might be wrong.
Yes.
I believe that Aswe would win.
Okay.
For various...
By a large margin?
Well, the margin might not be large, because Akpata has come to, eat into his votes severely. Yeah.
You see,
And
you
he has
see
really
Apata
come
taking up more of that than
Yes.
even Mr. Monday. You see that?
Yes, of course. So the thing is this. The thing is that if you look at the people who would have ordinarily be angry, who are going to vote against, so APC is going to get protest votes, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, Labour Party will get protest votes, rather. That's
Okay.
people protesting against APC's bad governance at the federal level.
Yes.
And people protesting against
Who?
APC, PDP at the
Okay.
state level.
At the state level. Okay.
Protest against APC at the federal level that Tinubu has finished us.
Wow.
Protest against
APC there.
PDP
Okay, PDP.
that Obaseki has finished them. They've seen a good place to land, Apata, right?
Yes. Yes. That is a lot. It sounds a bit confusing, but then it makes a lot of sense. It feels like there's a lot of calculation going on there. But then I'm so curious to see how all of this turns out, really, because it's a very, very confusing and very complicated state now in Edo State. And I just can't wait to see how it turns out. So before I let you leave the studio, INEC announced that there was a large first-time out voters turnout. I mean, a lot of people for the first time got to get their PVCs and they went out to vote and all of that. So do you really see that these new numbers are going to be reflected in the polls? Because a lot of the time we hear that there were a lot of new voters. We hear 19,000, 10,000, 5,000 new voters and all of that. But then we do not see the reflection in terms of numbers at the polls after the elections. Do you really see that this is going to really happen in Edo State this time?
So I'm not privy to that information about the data of whether new
Okay.
voters or not.
Yes,
I
both
didn't
in
look
Edo
for it.
and Ondo State, there were quite a number of new voters.
Which is good.
Yeah.
They can only determine that through voter registration, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, the people who vote are usually in these areas are usually the old people, the elderly.
Yes.
They are the ones who really, really come out to vote and stay and do all that. So if you look at the voting pattern, I'm talking about voting pattern,
Yes,
previous voting patterns, you will see that it's old people who have been the old market women and the elderly. So, well, it will be interesting to see whether that is going to influence. Perhaps Olumide's entrance to the race might have influenced this.
Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly influence this. And maybe most of those new voters will be voting for Labour Party. But let's see. I called the elections for Aswe, however. I don't know. I think Aswe will win, but let's see what happens.
Talk about old voters still coming out and voting. Do you see, I feel like from the 2023 presidential election and with all that Nigerians have been through in the past couple of months and even a year, I feel like a lot of Nigerians are becoming wiser and even young people. So do you think that this is going to influence the election in Edo State? And what I'm trying to say is youth are a lot more knowledgeable now. They have their facts and figures. They understand the turnout of events, so they'll be wiser at the polls. Do you think we are wiser now in Nigeria?
So at every stage, every political dispensation, there's a
Like you should always reflect.
no, there's always a rebirth of a new generation of conscious young people. Right? So, I mean, every generation will have that. That's because the economic realities will hit you to get mature quickly. And you realize that this maturity is actually from bad political decisions, not because your parents, groomed you faster or anything, but because of the economic realities that you are faced with. So people are asking questions, why am I paying 1,000 naira for petrol? You now get to know that Tinubu did this to you. And so
you must wisen up.
So you now know, okay, this is painful. Okay, what led to this decision? So political consciousness for young people comes as a result of economic shifts in reality.
Yes.
Because you were shielded by your parents after a while, and all of a sudden that shield is moved, and then your
pockets are biting harder.
So I don't know. I can't tell, but I would assume that I keep emphasizing on the Labour Party for the new voters.
Okay.
Because he is coming, he's new, so he's coming with newness. He's coming with fresh air.
New energy.
So new energy. And perhaps that would work in his favor. I don't know. So I don't know the percentage. Do you know the percentage of new voters in numbers?
No,
I don't know if that's enough to at least, bring about a radical shift in the election results as a whole. But let's watch.
Yeah, so let's just keep working with her perhaps, and we keep our eyes out there to see how things turn out. But one question just came to mind, and that would be the last question I ask you before we leave the studio. So we saw that the federal government had deployed about like 35,000 or 25,000 military personnel to Edo State. And I think that is quite a number for just a state, because I mean, for the whole of Nigeria, how many people are in the states that they'll be deploying that number of military personnel or officials? So what do you think about that number of military practitioners there? Is it really going to lead to some kind of violence? Because I mean, if they are so much, the moment they see anything, it becomes a case. Or do you think they are really going to help to manage the situation? What do you think about the number?
So we've always said it, that militarization of elections is not a good thing. You don't have to deploy soldiers to go and conduct elections. INEC. So the problem goes back to INEC. So if INEC had, for example, made clear rules or done the right thing and puts right things in place, you don't need to militarize your elections. When you observe elections in America or even in the UK or in the West, do you see any soldier, 30,000 soldiers going anywhere? No, it's not done that way.
Yes.
People are like, because the electoral commission or electoral body organizes themselves. People right now, lawyers are jumping. They are happy.
Exactly.
Hoping for how far, calling Olu, calling this one. Don't worry, we'll have you if this thing goes this one. Everybody's
eyes on the judiciary.
Everybody's looking for a brief right now. The election shouldn't be done that way.
Yeah.
And I keep saying it, that the idea that the burden of proof is moved to the person who loses an election is wrong. INEC, the burden of proof should rest on INEC all the time in conducting an election. You shouldn't shift that burden of proof to somebody who is the victim of that elections. No. If I gave you this phone and you misplaced the phone, I shouldn't be the one blaming or giving reasons why I gave you this phone, and it got missing because you are a minor. No, or you are an adult that your hands are not strong. I shouldn't be the one to. You should be the one explaining to me why this phone was missing or to any other person. You see, this country, it doesn't make sense most times.
Yes, logically at all, it doesn't make sense, and that's why we feel like a lot of the time, once election ends, it just goes to the judiciary. We are waiting for them to tell us who the winner is. It's not supposed to be like that. It was an election where people had the right to go out, use their vote, to vote, and then decide on who leads them. But I mean, we practice a democracy that seems to have some other adjectives attached to it. But then that will be it for today. It's really great having you here, and we continue to follow the process with our Follow the Results platform, and we'll be bringing you much more information as they unfold. And we'll just try to say that we urge everybody, every citizen in Edo State, continue to be peaceful, be conscious, and cast your vote, because they are your voice, and it's going to determine what happens from today moving forward in the state. That's it for now, and we'll see you in a bit. Thank you. All right. Thank you
so much.